Hey, Stoney here with another replay of Mechabellum. And in this game, we're going to take a look at a very long-range battle with elite fortresses. Alright, let's go. At the bottom here, I am playing as a giant specialist. My opponent, Pampiano, is playing as a training specialist. With giant specialists, I always like to play defensively. I don't really play aggro giants. Even when I play Fortress, I just kind of keep them in the midline here. I started with sledgehammers. My opponent has fangs. It has steel balls. So it's starting to look like a Vulcan marksman Stonecrawler game. Alright, my opponent is putting them very defensively, actually selling one of these steel balls in round 1 in order to get that level, early level on the arc light. Funny thing about level 2 arc light is they can actually kill sledgehammers fairly efficiently. So as long as my opponent gets that tower advantage, I think he can actually clear this up with the tower. Yeah, the arc light just doing work, right? Alright, Changa. We still have 6 tanks left. He should be able to get 3. 4. Oh, there it is. So even though he has fewer units, he still won the round, which is great. Alright, we got some options here. I think as a giant spec, mass prop worm is always useful. You can have it in the back line and then you just get them and mech div them. Pretty sweet deal. Very early range on the arc light. Round 2 adds 1 single unit, so really not leaning into the deployment here. Continue to sell things, right? So we have the turret is gone. So the first turn is sold steel ball, second turn is sold the turret. Now we have arc lights with range, so now they can survive and actually deal some damage to my sledgehammers. Added the additional marksman standing behind the arc light. Level 2 arc light has 9,000 HP, so even with the sledgehammer, they can tank quite a bit. I did add a single marksman just to deal with this level 2 arc light. Here comes the tower timing. Not able to bring the arc light down, but this time I think with maybe not. And these are level 2 steel balls, so they are freaking tanky. Yeah, so still unable to get the round. But not to worry, I am giant spec, so I am setting this up. No hurry to add in the Vulcan just yet. Scorpion could be pretty good. Scorpion directly answers the steel ball on this side. And also later on, it could build into a very strong backline board. I tried to put down the Vulcan, and then I thought to myself, there's no chaff here. There's like 2 squads of fans, right? Before he added in the crawlers. But even if he adds in crawlers, I have 2 vertical sledges. So my chaff clear is fantastic given the board situation. So there's no reason to spend that 400 into a Vulcan right away. Eventually they'll arrive on the board, but right now this is not the time. So I've added in a cheaper option, which is the Stormcaller. And I'm saving some money in case I need to have a stronger pivot later on. The Storms are going to take care of both of these fangs, and if he did pick the Scorpion drop, which he did, it's also going to take care of the Scorpion. And speaking of drops, Phoenix would be another great option for me here. For my opponent, I think Scorpion just makes the most sense. He seems to be setting up for a very long range board anyways. So Phoenix or Scorpion both make sense. Fire Badger he doesn't need, he already has chaff clear. Rhino, he will only play it if he puts it all the way in the back as a big distraction. But with Scorpion on the board, it may not be the most optimal choice. Alright, the Scorpion is now moving towards the arc light. It's going to draw fire from the arc light, which is really good. And it's going to dispatch these steel balls in 2 shots. Fantastic. Alright, on the other side, we have some pretty clumped units. Fortunately, we do have a Stormcaller. So now let's see if the Scorpion can get it done. Seems like it might be able to get it done, but gets destroyed himself. Stormcaller doing Stormcaller things. Really good. Alright, still not able to get the round. But getting close. And of course, with the giant player, the longer the game goes, the better it is for you. Because you get all the money to spend on this wonderful mechs. Improved Phoenix is pretty spicy. Tank production line is also pretty spicy. Alright, took 10 production and added my Vulcan, because I do expect my opponent to adding a bit more chaff. And also, a Vulcan is just a good unit to tank, even into the Scorpion. I took range right away so that the Vulcan can stay behind with the marksman. My opponent took the Fortress. Now, if you look at the bar, he does run elite marksman on the Fortress, which means if he has some high-level force, this guy can outrange a lot of my things. And right away, the Fortress locks onto the Scorpion, so the Scorpion really did no damage. I mean, it clear out some free sledges, and that's about it. Alright, things are doing okay. On the other side, we have the level 2 marksman doing good work. And the tank continues to produce. And since we have the Stonecaller, oh my god, the Arcba actually got my marksman. That's not great. I think the Stonecaller is going to do a little bit of damage to the free tank, but not enough to kill the Fortress. Okay. We have haste module, which is really good on a giant. All the other cards seems pretty weak. I mean, the shield might be good for later on, but he's running... Yeah, he took range, and then I think the next tech is going to be elite marksman. So it's almost instant pop on some of the shields. Shields might work better for my opponent, because I really don't have that much damage. Alright. Seeing how there might be a weakness in chaff clear, so I might win the chaff war. At least for this turn, I've just decided to adding a bunch of chaff. And now I realize I moved the Vulcan too far forward with the haste module. It is moving at 11 meters per second, so it needs to be further behind. Scorpion gets ranged. Here I had to make a decision. How do I want to counter the Fortress? There's a couple of schools of thoughts. The first one is obviously the Melter. Melter with range does counter Fortress if your chaff clear is good. But if your Fortress takes elite marksman, then it is not the most ideal unit, because one, economically is the same cost as Fortress, but with elite marksman, Fortress can essentially two-shot your Melter. So if you're in a mirror situation, in a standoff, your melters don't win. You have to have things in front to protect them. And since they cost the same, you're only going to be able to afford as many melters as your opponent's Fortress, assuming both of you just make giants. So that's not a winning strategy in the long run. Scorpions, on the other hand, cost 100 supply less, which means I get to make slightly more of them. And they already have slightly more range, right? Oh, actually, I take that back. Scorpions is in the exact same range as the Fortress. But The good thing is you get to make more of them. And later on with scorpions, they have an additional benefit of being really good chaff clear. And by chaff clear, I mean mostly into medium-sized units, because my opponent has tank production and it also has a bunch of these arc lights, and they tend to walk in this close group, right? Improved Void Eye is very interesting here into the fortress. Improved Void Eye with the additional 5-meter range, and if you also run suppression and range and God, I'm drawing a blank here. Charge shot, there it is. Then it actually can do enough damage to a fortress, but it is a bit unreliable, right? Because it's, you know, small units, but it is a good option. Since I'm already into scorpions, let's just keep making scorpions. So it's going to be scorpion with acid, and then eventually we're going to get double shot. I'm pretty confident in my chaff clear with Vulcans versus the arc lights. And also, with the help of the scorpions, I'm also pretty confident in any sort of medium unit clear. So if my opponent decided to go with, let's say, steel balls, for example, or replicating steel balls, the scorpions will have a better chance than my melting point, if I were to go melting point. Alright, this is the turn my opponent took a lead, and as you can see, my level 3 scorpion got instantly destroyed, but because I have acid, and because I have superior chaff, I was able to push through on one side. Oh my god, this guy just one-shotted my scorpion. It's getting a little scary, because one thing about elite marksman fortress is that once you get a few levels and get a few of them, they outrange pretty much all your giants. Okay. So we need to survive until we have enough scorpions to make a difference. And also we need to keep the chaff clear advantage. Arc lights are notoriously bad into late game chaff units. And by late game chaff units, I mean anything from shield defense to loose formation crawlers. Arc lights just aren't cutting it. Triple Void Eye for me, this is more of a distraction because I couldn't really see any use out of the other units. I guess the boats, maybe, but it's a very temporary solution, right? With the arc lights, at least I can do some distraction play in the early games, kind of keep them around on the side. My opponent immediately took EM on the arc light. I think he was a little afraid of EM armor on the Void Eyes. And that's what I was thinking. I was going to take shield and I was going to take EM armor. And then I was in Discord, I was talking to Raging, and he said, yeah, that's a terrible idea. It only disables the tech for 4 seconds, and in such a long range war, it just simply won't work. So I've decided against it, and it turns out to be a great decision because Arclight EM is going to completely nullify those double tech, and I would have wasted a lot of money. So, yeah, just starting selling Void Eyes. We're going to use them as a distraction to tie up one of these arc lights, and I'm more than happy to do that. Still only 2 fortresses, but they do hit really, really hard. I'm starting to add even more scorpions. You need numbers in scorpions, especially with acid, because you need that follow-up shot that takes full advantage of the acid effect. And double shot is not yet taken, but it will be taken soon. And you can see now, right, there's definitely some problems with chaff clear for my opponent. EM is doing great work. It's tying down my scorpions once the all my chaff wave disappears. And with the combination of units like marksman, it can actually kill the scorpion. This is a pretty brutal end of the round. Like, nothing can really fight into EM Arclight with a elite fortress. Alright, we got some techs. some great items here. I think for me, if I'm gonna just go hard into scorpions and they're doing double shot, we don't really care, right? Now, this turn is all about making the chaff war extremely difficult for my opponent. So I'm going to take a double tech on the fan with shield and range. Well, with range, now this fans and temp range at 130. Arc light is at 140 with temp range at 155. It's only a 20-meter difference, which means the arc lights will have to move forward more because now my fans can chaff clear his fans, right? Because I outranged them and also have a tank here. But I think my opponent realizes and decided to add Stormcallers. He does not run fire, which is a blessing to me. He runs high explosive ammo. They're still very efficient at dealing with units like fans, but without fire, I don't have to worry about getting like sprinkler hounds or anything like that. I can just put down AM devices. Alright, lots of fangs. The crawlers are still around. Double shot scorpion is still around. Still only 2 fortresses, and I'm now outnumbering his fortress. So I have 5 scorpions into 2 fortress, and I'm feeling a little better. I am still dangerously low. If I lose a round in a big way, then I'm pretty much dead. But the fans, as you can see, is definitely making a difference. Not enough of a difference yet, because I'm still getting EM'd by these arc light. I need another wave of fans coming in ultra late, and that's going to get me allow me to one-shot the arc lights. Alright, forts coming in, wasting their shots on these tanks. And this is what I was talking about. Like, scorpions just don't have the problem with medium units, whereas the fort may. And the forts, here's efficient giant, if he wants to take them. But I think for me, efficient additional deployment is pretty good. I just need to have more fans, honestly. That's it. Vulcans are so much better in late game chaff clear than arc lights. And since he's already triple tech his arc lights, I don't really see him getting out of the arc light anytime soon. If anything, he's probably just going to add more Stormcallers. Alright, 2 additional level 2 forts. 21,000 damage per hit. If he takes, I think if he takes level 2, he's just going to one-shot Scorpion at level 1. Alright, knowing there's going to be Stormcallers, we're going to put down AM devices, 1 for every Stormcaller. And we're also going to start sell out my last pack of Void Eye just to get more money. And it's going to be more Scorpions and more Fangs. I'm not in a hurry to add a chaff clear in the middle yet, because I don't really see a lot of chaff in the middle. And also I have range fans, so they themselves do help out chaff clearing, especially if most of my opponent's chaff consists of fangs. Decided to supplement the AM devices, so now I'm running a total of 5. I was expecting my opponent to add more Stormcallers, because that's what I would do if I were him, in order to get that chaff clear. Double missile at the front, so we can get Scorpions on target right away. And now you can just look at the board. If I pause here, I mean, just take a look at the board, right? The amount of chaff that's on my side of the board versus the amount of chaff that's on my opponent's side of the board. And if this board has no chaff at all, I think my opponent has the advantage because he can EM lock my Scorpions. But if it has chaff, then the Scorpions really get in their value. We have this Scorpion already onto the level 2 fort. Just huge amount of damage. Here's what happened, right? When you ran out of chaff, you get EM'd, and then your scorpions don't work anymore. And now, like, my right-hand side start to fall. But not before taking down that Giga Fort. And with a single fort left standing with no arc light support, it's pretty straightforward. Okay, getting to round 10. Big Phoenix at round 10 is a good card to pick. I mean, they're tanky. They are an air unit, so you can scam around if your opponent doesn't have a late anti-air. He only has 2 marksmen, 1 on each side, so the Phoenix themselves might actually survive quite a bit more. Taking range, because we have so much money, and we're just going to buy a few more Phoenixes. They're going to help with clearing out some of these arc lights. I'm not too afraid, because my opponent doesn't run AA on his fortress. It's just strictly anti-giant fortress. And just more chaff, right? We're going to have late fangs. We noticed that last round, my right-hand side got destroyed right after I ran out of chaff. So we're going to add another pack of fangs. And 1 pack of fangs takes a very long time for an arc light to clear. So no problem there. My opponent decided to get Mustangs. Triple Mustangs. Actually, I think he sold out of the Phoenix. Yeah, he sold out of the Phoenix and just went triple Mustangs. Normally, I would say the Mustangs are a good play, but Elite Fortress? I think the Mustangs are going to run a little too forward, no? I mean, the range is 150, 165. So I guess they're still in the shield bubble, but they're definitely standing in front of the fortress. And guess what else is in front of a fortress? Is a Vulcan and a bunch of Scorpions. So both of which are bad news for the poor Mustangs. And also, I think the reason he wants Mustangs is because he wants to get rid of my chaff sooner. But because I have range on his fangs, they actually survive a little bit better. So it's just a matter of let's get through these shields. And now the Mustang just died, right? Yeah, here comes my ultra late chaff on the side. This fortress is being a chat, but is now staying stuck on this ultra late fangs. Double shot. And another huge round here. I don't think it's lethal yet, but very close to. Incendiary is a good card. Haste Module is a good card. Okay. Okay, the Mustang. I don't remember if he took HE last turn. He might have. And that's a very strong signal, as I just want to get through his fans. And once again, I thought about getting Void Eyes, Shield, EM armor, because the idea was, what if the Force shoot at the Void Eyes and then our shield gets disabled and I actually get to land the Incendiary? Wouldn't that be sweet? And then once again, I was reminded that the Void Eyes only has 4 seconds with the EM disabled, and that is just a little too risky for a round 11. So I decided against it, just mass shields. And at this point, there's only two acceptable units that you can build, which is more Scorpions or more Fangs. Now, since my opponent did have a lot of units in the middle, maybe it's finally time to put an extra Vulcan right in the middle in order to deal with this. Alright, we got oil, we got fire. Hopefully something will land. Alright, we got extra Vulcan, mostly just to deal with the Mustangs. And then we have extra Scorpions to deal with everything else. The fire did land to an extent, which is great because now in the middle everything is naked. This fortress got instantly deleted by a trio of Scorpions. This guy, now without any sort of chaff in front of them, is easy picking for this level 3 scorpion. And now this guy just gets gunned down and too many scorpions, and that's going to be GG. It was getting a little scary there when the Elite Fortress was getting their levels, but I think ultimately the game was won because of the chaff war. Having range and shield makes these fangs extremely resilient. The normal chaff clear unit against these fangs are being slightly less efficient just because of the range, and they have to hit them that much later. And just going harder into the scorpion was the good call. I mean, at some point, all these scorpions will contribute a significant amount into chaff clear, on top of already superior chaff clear with the Vulcan. So this game was really won into the chaff war. I also noticed my opponent took the 4th tech, which is Launcher Overload. I don't think that's a good tech. I get it, like he is struggling with chaff clear, but I just think this tech makes the Vulcan weaker, because now they have to walk closer and they're leaving the range advantage gained from elite marksmen on the table. So this Vulcan is 150, Scorpion at 155, and I actually was able to get that first shot off. All right, well, I hope you enjoyed this game, and if you want to see another one, here's one for you, and I will see you on the next one.
Prepare your tactics, Mechabellum's calling. Deploy your fortress, the battlefield's alive with swarms.